All right, welcome to today's lesson on, or the first one in a sequence of geometry. Now we're going to go a little bit back, possibly for some people, and we're going to just look at today's lesson on some of the names of the special things that we're going to use in geometry. So here are a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 things that we're going to define today. And after today's lesson, I want you to remember them. And one of the other lessons for the week is going to be making a dictionary of your own of these things. So you might come back to this video at some point. So without further ado, here's the first one, a point. A point is basically what it sounds like. It is just this, a dot. A dot. Most often we name them with capital letters. Okay, so they're named with capitals. All right, so we might have a point here, we could call it M. We might have a point over here, we could call it B. We might have a point over here, we could call it Z. We don't often see points named with little letters. Okay, it does happen sometimes, but we want to practice naming them with capital letters. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one on the list is line. Now a line is a collection of points so close together that we can't tell that they're not touching. So imagine I've drawn that many and then I go and fill in the gaps with more points like this. All right, fill them in, and then I go and fill in the gaps with more points and so on and so forth. So we can see that when I zoom back out, it's just going to look like a continuous red line. All right, now that's a line, it's just a collection of points. And what happens is we draw it as a straight line and it continues on in both directions infinitely. All right, so a line is an infinite collection of points in both directions. So that's the second of the two things, or the 11 things. The third is a plane. Now a plane is kind of difficult to think about. It's basically two directions at once. All right, so you might show it with a rectangle or a square, and you can look this way across it, or you can look up and down it. Okay, so this is a plane, two directions at once. All right, and it's most often named for the directions it goes. So this would be left, right, up, down. We have other special names we give left, right, and up, down, but we'll just stick with those. The fourth thing on our list is collinear. Now this is a tricky word to look at, but I'm going to show you its two parts. First, we draw a line. Actually, I'll do it with a different color so we can see it nicely. All right, so we draw a line between the two words col and linear. Now linear, you can see here, has a different part in it, which is line. All right, so we've got line. So we know somewhere in this word, in the meaning, is a line. All right, now co means together, and line. All right, so starting to look at what this means now. We've got two parts. We have together and line. Okay, so what we're looking at here is two or more points, and we might call this one A, P, and Y, two or more points that are together on one line. That is collinear. All right, so this is collinear. Two or more, because it could be three, this one has three, more points on a line is collinear. All right. Now number 5, intersection, is basically, or it is exactly what it sounds like. It's where two or more lines cross each other. So if we look here, we can see that this, where the blue crosses the red, is called an intersection point. All right, we might see over here another line like that, where the blue crosses the red is an intersection point. Okay, so we can see here two or, now I notice that I say or more. I always have to say or more because we might have more than two crossing at a point, because it's the point that's called the intersection. Think about two roads meeting. We might have an intersection that looks like this, where you can go straight ahead or you can turn, either way. And this part here is called the intersection because it's where this road meets that road. All right. Another tricky word to look at is concurrent. Now this, we'll break it down again. Current means, well, concurrent means basically now, and con means together. So this word, we can think of it as meaning together, now. And what that looks like is two or more lines meeting at one point. All right, so this red point in the middle here is called the intersection. So the point where they meet is the intersection. But the word we use to describe the lines is we say that all three of them are concurrent because they meet at one point. Okay? So then the next one, number 7, is an interval. All right, now an interval is something that joins 2 points and stops. All right, so we might have something like this, P and M, and you can see that the line doesn't go past the ends of the points. It stops there. All right, so we can name this interval PM, just like a line. The next one, number 8, is a ray. Now this, think back to the sun's rays. The sun's rays are like lines of light. And what that means is if we have a point, we'll call it the sun. The sun shoots out light and it keeps going forever. And this is called a ray. You can see that it comes from one spot and keeps going. Now that's called a ray and not a segment, because if the earth wasn't here, the sun's light would never stop. Okay, so rays keep going until they hit something, but they always keep going. Number 9 is a vertex. Now a vertex is where, or we can think of it as a corner, all right, where two rays or line or intervals meet. All right, so we could look at it like this. We could think to ourselves that I'm going to draw a square. Each of those points there, where the two or more intervals have met, is called a vertex. It's the maths name for corner. Okay. Number 10 is called an arm, and this is a way of thinking about the two parts of an angle. All right, so I'll go on to number 11 as well at the same time. I've drawn two rays here because they start at this point and keep going. Now the angle we measure is the distance between the two rays, and we measure it in degrees. All right, so we might say this is 30 degrees. We measure these with protractors and things like that. So an angle is the distance between two, I said rays before, but another way to describe it is two arms. So you can see here is arm 1 and here is arm 2, and the angle is between them. All right, so we show angles with this nice little arc here, and we write their measurement next to them if we know it. All right, so this is the angle, and each of these bits here is called an arm, or it could be called a ray. All right, so that was the 11 different things. I've zipped through them as quickly as I could, but what we're going to do now is practice using them in some questions. So go back to the learning plan and have a look at what I want you to do next.